for our second to last speaker, we've got Dr. Sofia Oliveira, and she finished her PhD not that long ago from the University of Lisbon in Portugal, and has been working here at CDU and for the past 12 to 18 months or so, and is currently now working on a postdoc project with RMIT down in Victoria, but staying where it's supposed to be warm. So she's going to talk about some of her PhD work in Brazil that also works with fires and remote sensing.
Hi everyone. My talk today is part of my PhD research, and I'm going to talk about the use of remote sensing to study fire frequency in the Brazilian Cerrado, which is the name of the tropical savannas in Brazil. So I guess you all know what a tropical savanna is, since we're surrounded by them here in Darwin. It's a biome characterized by tall grasses and occasional trees, and it has a tropical climate with a wet season and a dry season. So tropical savannas, they cover 20% of the Earth, and they are one of the most fire-prone biomes. So fire is quite important here because it regulates vegetation structure. But if fire frequency, that is, if the number of fires is too high, it has negative consequences for biodiversity. So that's why it's very important to study fire frequency, to implement fire management plans. So the Brazilian Cerrado, it's the area in light green on the map. It covers 23% of Brazil, and is the most extensive savanna in South America. It is the second largest and rich biome in Brazil after Amazonia, and is the most biologically rich savanna in the world. It has more than 10,000 plant species, more than 900 birds, 300 mammals, some of them quite unusual mammals like the ones you see on the pictures. We have the armadillo, the anteater, the tapir. So although it's a very special environment, only 1.5% of Cerrado is protected. So we all heard about the rate of deforestation in Amazonia, but how many of you heard of Cerrado? So the rate of ecological destruction in Cerrado is actually twice than that in Amazonia. And there are three main reasons for that. The first one is large-scale agriculture that is responsible for deforestation and land clearance. The second main reason is tourism, mainly the golden grass handicraft, which is a grass that local people use to produce baskets and jewelry, and then they sell to tourists, and there's an example in the middle picture. And of course, another main threat is fire. So native Brazilians, kind of in a similar way with the Aboriginal people here in Australia, they used fire to clear small areas for hunting, fishing for subsistence. But nowadays, the fire regime is characterized by extensive and frequent anthropogenic fires. So for this research, I chose a park called Jelapão State Park as the study area. This park, the one in the dark gray on the picture, is within the Jelapão region, which is within the Cerrado. It's quite a small park and had no fire management plan. And the study period was from 1997 to 2008. So the first step was to produce the annual burn area maps. So I used Landsat imagery for that, 47 images, 3 per year, to reduce the omission errors, because in tropical savannas, the fire scars, they disappear very quickly due to the rapid vegetation regrowth. And then the classification of the burn areas was done using OBIA, object-based image analysis, using the software recognition that other people mentioned in these presentations today, and was complemented with manual on-screening editing. So after producing all the annual burn area maps, I overlay them and I produced this map that tells us how many times each area was burned. So we can see that most of the park burns between 3 to 6 times, which is the dark gray area in the figure. Where you can also see the areas that burn more frequently, the black areas. They burn between 7 and 10 times. And then we can produce statistics like the total burn area, which in the case of this park was 585,000 hectares, which is more or less 4 times the size of the park. So it burns a lot. The second step was producing a vegetation map, again based on Landsat, and I used again OBIA, and it was validated with field work. So I produced this map with all those vegetation types. Water and sand was excluded from the analysis because they're not susceptible to burn. And then we have vegetation types like shrub savannas, open woodlands, dense woodlands, veredas, which is a swampy area dominated by palm trees, gallery and ciliary forests that are forests associated with the rivers, and shift cultivation, which is a type of agriculture that is practiced in this park. And then the fire frequency analysis itself. So I used a few different metrics to characterize fire frequency, like the fire rotation period, which tells us the number of years needed to burn an area of the same extent as the study area, in this case the Jalapão Park, the annual percentage of area burn, the fire interval, which is the probability of having fire intervals of T years, and the medium and the modal fire intervals. And this is a table with the results for all the vegetation types and also for the whole area of the park. So we can see that we only need 3 years to burn an area equivalent of the area of the park, and that 34% of the park burns annually. The medium fire interval is 4 years, but it ranges from 3 to 6 years, so it's lower in vegetation types like shrub savannas and open woodlands, and it's higher in dense woodlands. And the modal fire interval is around 2 years. And then we can produce a distribution like this, which is the fire interval distribution, which tells us, for example, if we look to the yellow curve, the one with the highest peak, it tells us that the probability of having an interval, a fire interval of 2 years, is 30%, and then it decreases. And then if we look, for instance, for dense woodlands, the dark orange, we can see that it has the lowest probability of having a fire interval of 2 years. And then with this type of distributions, we can even predict what's going to happen in the future. So after doing this study, I concluded that remote sensing was quite useful to tell us what areas in the park burn more frequently and where we should prioritize the fire prevention activities. So in Jalapão Park, fire frequency is very high, with medium fire intervals ranging from 3 to 6 years, depending on the vegetation type. Vegetation types with lower tree density, like open woodlands, they have the highest fire frequencies. And then we can make recommendations to the park managers. We can, for instance, tell us that it would be good if they used early dry season patch mosaic burning to prevent severe fires in the late dry season and to reduce the extent of burn area. And we can also recommend the use of strategic fire breaks. And as an example, I can give the areas of vereda. That's where the golden grass exists, and local people, they go there, they burn the grass to stimulate flowering, so they can cut it and produce the handicrafts. And what happens is that the fire then spreads to other vegetation areas. So we could avoid that with fire breaks. They don't really, they don't have many weeds there. There's no fire management plans, and the problem with this park is that, contrary to tropical savannas in Australia, people actually, they live there, and they use it for agriculture, for subsistence. So when they use fire, it's mostly to clear the land to grow their little crops. They don't really care about the weeds.